Number 3 is Kevin Sullivan.
Okay. I have to say something here about Kevin Sullivan. First off, the guy, how tall is Kevin Sullivan?
I think he's 5 foot fuck all, but I'm gonna say
Yeah.
5'9".
Okay, so he comes across a little shorter on television. So I've got this thing. I've always said that unless it's about the devil, sex, or drugs, it ain't really rock and roll. One of the things I think is fucking amazing about Kevin Sullivan is now, years on, I see him in interviews going, well, I never said I was a Satanist.
No.
Okay, but Kevin, you're down in the Bible Belt, and you know as well as I do that the Bible says if it's not of the Lord, it's of Satan. So when you start doing all this weird, like, I'm gonna go fucking across the burning sands and pray to this Tibetan god, in the Bible Belt, that says Satanism. But
he never used the word devil or Satan.
No, which always kind of now, it's a bit of a letdown for a guy like me. You know, you should have said it at least once, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here in my Slayer t-shirt. I love satanic references. That shit makes me smile, you know? One of my favorite atheist writers is a guy who dresses like the Undertaker very often, just because it drives that point home, you know? Kevin Sullivan is a fucking genius of the wrestling business.
One of the greatest minds of professional wrestling of all time, Kevin Sullivan. I'm going to put on here on our tweet later on. Number 3 on the Bell to Bell Blaze, hashtag Kevin Sullivan. Sullivan was at my house for my birthday about 5 years ago. He came down and spent about 3 to 4 hours with me. Kevin Sullivan, I saw him back in May at the Bobby Fulton retirement show, and I know I keep getting shout outs to that, but I'm just saying because I met some or knew or have hung out with so many great people. Sullivan gave me a job in WCW when I finished up Smoky Mountain. I told you that story. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, Bob, you want a job? Call Paul Orndorff on Monday. You got a job. Kevin took care of me when he come into Smoky Mountain. I have nothing but love and respect for Kevin Sullivan. You can look up in my second book, The Education, I kicked out on 2, The Education Wrestler, my respect for Kevin Sullivan. I wrote something about him nice. I recently spoke to him, sent him a t-shirt, etc. Hope he does wear it to All In. But here's the thing. When he walks out of that fucking water and he's got Mark Lewin and he's, they go to the gym together wearing their robes and drink beer with the police on the side of the road in Florida. They was so over. Kevin Sullivan just had, and you can go to whatever you want to in WCW. Kevin Sullivan he had that great mind for professional wrestling, and no one ever before this, and you mentioned earlier, till a few years ago, and I will post a picture of Kevin out here by my house with myself and another friend of mine. I said, man, how tall is he? And I said, he's like, I don't know. I never thought about it, like 5'9". But Kevin Sullivan to me was always fucking 6 foot fucking 6, 295 pounds. And it's one of those things where you can be easily deceived by someone because the way they talk, the way they act, the way they beat people up. And go back to Malenko at number 5. When a company of Florida Championship Wrestling was being carried on his back in the 70s up through the early 80s, Kevin Sullivan was coming on, and along with a babyface known as Dusty Rhodes that we done our special one, Kevin Sullivan was the antagonistic fucking heel that everyone hated. And even though he didn't use the word Satan or devil, etc., like you just explained, everyone assumed that's what he was. A Satanist, devil worshiper, atheist, or whatever. Man, he just ruled the fucking roof with himself and Mark Lewin. And woman, what a fucking beautiful lady she was. When I first saw her, she's probably Nancy was like 18 years old, and I saw her in a magazine. And I'm like, oh my God, because everyone knows me, knows I love dark hair and brown eyes. And I saw her in a magazine. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Cause I still, you know, obviously, I'm still a fan, obviously, but a mark for the business buying magazines or whatever. I'm like, holy shit, man, these people are real. It's real to me. That's the thing about professional or pro wrestling, is it made us believe it's real. And all during that time, during Florida, when he came into Georgia, when he got on a booking committee of WCW, when he worked in WCW, whatever you want to fucking say, Kevin Sullivan was such a fucking little heel prick. And he always had a good body. Sometimes it was bigger, sometimes it was heavier. But here's the thing, coming in at number 3, Kevin Sullivan. He can be one of the greatest heels of all time professional wrestling. But to me, obviously, I can't say anything fucking bad, nasty, hateful, or anything about the guy, because he's been so goddamn good to me, so respectful to me, that Kevin Sullivan, to me, is one of my top favorite fucking professional wrestlers, as a man, as a person, as a human being, and a wrestler of all time in my life. And that's all I can say, because otherwise I'll go over the fucking time limit, Jeremy.
No,
We're going to Texas and wrestling.
No. It's a one-fall Texas death match with Ed the Bull Gantner.
Where?
Fort Lauderdale.
I'm wrestling at the Bull Gantner in Fort Lauderdale in a street fight match.
No.
That's
It's
all
a
right.
Texas death match. What's wrong with that?
That's all right. You just come down there in a street fight for Bull Gantner. You'll be okay. Can I go with you?
Sure, you can go with me, but we got to go to Fort Lauderdale, wrestle Ed the Bull Gantner. One-fall Texas death match. Tell them what you're going to do.
I'm going to wrestle Ed the Bull Gantner in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale! What's wrong with you? Jeez.